Good morning, everybody. This is Tom Nowakowski with Adjusters247.com. I appreciate you joining us this morning. We got a lot of people here on the webinar this morning. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. This is our weekly training webinar that covers some of the material that we talked about in last week's podcast, and then we're going to have a training segment today on the assignment of benefits and the crisis that's happening as a result of that. It's been in the news lately. We have a lot of information that we're going to be sharing with you today. So I hope you can stick with us for the training segment. We want to make sure that everybody understands the agenda for today's webinar. First, we're going to do a brief overview of Adjusters247.com and what we do and how we do it. I'm also going to give you some information about the podcast itself, how to listen to it and download it if you choose to download it. I'm also going to talk about our blog posts that we send out every day and other social media involvement that we have. We're also going to be talking about some email requests for information that you may have a need for us to help with, and how you can get in touch with us. We'll be talking about that. I'll give you, including my personal cell phone number at the end of things today, so that you'll have that if you have any questions or anything that you want to discuss. But at the end, after our training segment on A.O.B claims, we're going to have a question and answers period and an open discussion about anything that you may find relevant or anything you got a question about. If you have any suggestions or comments about either the podcast or anything else that you've seen that's related to us, that will be the time to go ahead and talk about it. We start off the webinars with everybody in muted mode. Like I said, there's a lot of people on this at this point, and if we were unmuted, I'm sure it would be chaotic as hell. So everybody starts off muted, but at the end of the webinar, we'll open up the line so that we can have a discussion. But if you have a question or a comment between now and then, you can use the question mark or use the question section of GoToWebinar. Send me a question through that, and I do check those throughout the webinar, and I answer as many questions as I can as we're going along. So hopefully at the end of the webinar there won't be any outstanding questions, and we can focus on any discussion or other topics that you would like to discuss. But Adjusters247.com is dedicated to providing the claims professionals the information that they need to be more efficient and proficient, which we truly believe increases QA scores, it lowers cycle time, and it improves customer service, not just for the insured, but also for the carrier and for yourself. And I've been in this business 32 years, and the one thing that I learned a long time ago is that it's a constant struggle to maintain a level of training, because things change so rapidly in this business. And regardless of your position or level of experience, the material that we discuss in each podcast will help us be better in our everyday lives. We cover a lot of different topics. I'm going to talk about that here in just another screen or two. And when we put our format together for the day, we try to make sure that we have a little bit of something for everybody. And in addition to our daily podcast and the weekly training webinar like you're on right now, we also provide a weekly newsletter and the daily blog posts to distribute the information. And all of that can be found on our website. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to go to our website yet, but our website has a lot of different information. Our homepage contains a lot of information that is a great starting point and jumping off into the rest of the website. But from our homepage, you can get information about what we do, and you can, if you haven't already, click on this button here to download our latest newsletter and you can sign up to join our newsletter mailing list by filling in just your name and email address in this box here, in this section here. Also from our home screen, you can send us comments or any type of requests that you might have. You've already signed up for the webinar for today, and I just want to remind everybody that the login information that GoToWebinar gave you is good for all of our training opportunities. So just keep hold of that information and click on it anytime that you want to join one of our weekly Saturday webinars or any of the other ones that we'll be having. That login will get you into that webinar without having to register again with GoToWebinar. So, but also from here you can get to all of our social media sites. All of the links are here, and you can also download or listen to our podcast through Stitcher or Google Play or iTunes. We're also on several different other distribution sites, and I'll go over that here in just a little bit. Also from our homepage, you can go and get a schedule of upcoming events that's listed right there. And then you can always send us a message from that homepage as well by filling out that information and sending it to us. And we respond to all of those just quickly as possible. So if you have any questions or comments, concerns, you can send that email to us, and it's monitored 24/7. So we will make sure that we get the answers that you need. Also, I want to point out from our website is our media resources page, where if you click on that tab, it'll take you to all of the recent blog posts, and you can also download the newsletter from there. And then our prior training webinars are listed here as well, so that you can go back and listen to any one of those that you want. I also have a link to the iTunes library. We're at episode number 45 right now. So all of them are stored here in iTunes. You can listen to it through iTunes without having to go and download anything, or you can go and download it and listen to it at a later time. But I'll get into some of the other material here that is included as well. And one of the other things that we have is our Adjusters247.com blog posts. All of those are here. Whenever we do a show, we make sure that we update what the show notes are from our blog post, and those go out every single day. So you'll have that information available. We'll go over that. But also on our important links page, we have added some material, including storm information, but we also have from stormersite.com, we put in the tornadoes and hail and wind reports that will be available from our important links page as well. Also, there'll be links to all of our other sponsors and people that we're affiliated with that you can go to right from this area here. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to go over with everybody is how we go and format our podcast. And what we try to do, as I said earlier, is format the podcast to where it's something for everybody, but it also is good regardless of your experience level to get some exposure to the vocabulary and terminology that is in the insurance claims business. And so whether you're a beginner or you're a seasoned veteran like I am, we try to make sure that the podcast has information that is current, that is pertinent to whatever you may be running into while out there in the field. But we start off each podcast with the show's guest list for that day. Then we move into the severe weather update with storm reports from around the country. We get some up-to-the-minute, fresh weather information every morning before we do the podcast. I normally do the podcast sometime between 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning is when we record it, and then it's usually produced by 8 or 9 o'clock, and so the minute that it is produced is the freshest severe weather information that we have at that point. Then we move into our storm tips and catastrophe operations segment, where we discuss current deployments. We also use this segment to offer any pre-storm or post-storm tips. We have people that will be out in the field whenever a storm happens, whenever there's an occurrence. We have live reports, given kind of the lay of the land of what they're seeing there as far as lodging and how critical the power outages are, areas that you need to avoid, and we also will have many different avenues that we'll be able to direct you into a safe area when you're deploying for the first time. Especially, you may not be prepared for some of the things that actually happen during a storm, and so we try to prepare you for that, either before the storm hits or as it's going on or immediately afterwards. Once everybody starts getting deployed, we'll have all of that information available for you as well. Then we move into our claim industry news segment, where we discuss different job opportunities. That includes daily, CAT, it could be workers' comp, it could be any type of insurance claims position that's available that we hear. We also have interviews with personnel firms, companies that are looking to hire. We will have that as part of this segment as well. And then we move into what I call our Adjusting 101 segment, where we offer guidance to the newer adjusters, or as a refresher to those that haven't been out into the field in a while. And that information is a little more basic. And then we move into our seasoned adjuster time, where we discuss policies, procedures, and technology for adjusters that have been experienced and been in the field for a while. But I've been in this business, as I said, 32 years, and I learn something new every single day. And I want to make sure that regardless of anybody's level of experience, that they are able to keep up with the latest changes to policies, procedures. Computer technology is changing daily. And so we try to make sure that information is passed along, so that nobody's going to get left behind, and everybody can stay up on the current trends and make sure that they're familiar with everything that is going on technology-wise in the business. Then we move into our time management and organizational tips and tricks. I gear this towards the managers and the staff in ways to become more efficient in our daily lives. And we also include stress management as part of that segment as well. Burnout is always an extremely prevalent part of our business, because we do deal with so many different things, stressful things, and we try to offer advice during this segment on how to avoid becoming burnt out in the business, and different things that people have tried and have been successful at. And so we include that in this segment as well. Then we move into what we call our reality check segment, where we share successes and setbacks that everybody can learn from. And the one thing that I learned from people before me was just how much fun this business can be, but there can also be a lot of setbacks along the way. And whether it's going to your first storm and having to sleep in your car for a couple of weeks because there's no lodging available, and living off of Red Cross meals and basically bathing in a gas station bathroom, those are things that we talk about so that people can learn from those experiences. And some are good, some are not so good, but it's all reality, and that's what we run into every single day when we do this for a living. And then in our show ending, we answer any questions that we've received, and go and review the many ways that there are to contact us. We also preview the next day's podcast and the upcoming week's webinar. Then we go and we make sure that you have all of our social media information and any upcoming events and certification classes we discuss. Now, once that is produced, and as I said, it's usually completed by 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, I go and I send that to our hosting site, and within minutes, everything is available through our RSS feed, and you can download it directly from the iTunes buttons, Google Play, and Stitcher. And what I do is also at that point send out a blog post indicating that the podcast has been produced and it is available. And then we also put that on all of our social media sites, which includes Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, all of the major social media sites we are affiliated with, and we make sure that all that information is put out there for you to get it, and we make sure that the blog post goes out to everybody that's signed up for it, and that way everybody can get that information and see through the blog post what our show notes were for that day, the topics that we covered, and all of the other material that's there, so that they can be familiar with what we discussed and who the guests were, and get some information as to whether it's a post that you want to go and get the information immediately, or if you're just going to download it and listen to it at a later time. And then we go and make sure that everybody has all of that information. And by now, you should have a pretty good idea of what we do and how we do it. Also how to listen to the podcast and how to find us. We also want you to understand, how we communicate with the claims professionals that we currently have. Now, our future plans are pretty exciting. In fact, next week, we're going to have a major announcement on some things that we've been working on for the last couple of months. You're going to want to be part of that next week, and you'll be seeing some communications go out leading up to that during the week this week. But we want to expand the number of claims professionals that we reach. We want to be able to get all this information to as many people as we possibly can. And at the same time, we are adding other claims-related sponsors to our family. And, we could use your help in spreading the word. That's about the only thing that I would request. If you have any claims associates, if you would forward either a link to our website or one of our updates to them, and then have them get in touch with us through the website, I would definitely appreciate that. And like I said, we're going to have some major announcements coming up in the next few weeks. We have a major one next weekend that you'll be hearing about. And it's stuff that we're extremely excited about, and it's going to be great for everybody that's a part of the team at this point. And I do invite you to join us next week and every Saturday when we have our training webinars. This week's related training is on assignment of benefit claims. This is a huge issue right now, and I'm going to go through some material that illustrates exactly how huge of an issue it is. But typically, assignment of benefits, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, assignment of benefits is a contractual type of situation that is guaranteed in the policies that the insureds can go and use, and it was meant to go and protect the insureds. What's happened is it's turned into where, like the center graphic here, the insured calls a plumber, who then calls and refers an emergency mitigation service provider. Then at that point, the service provider arrives on the scene and has the insured sign this A.O.B, this assignment of benefits. The service provider then treats, and whether it's the walls or the carpets or cabinets, they go and they start doing the work once the insured has signed that A.O.B. And I'm going to go through and show you a sample of one here in just a minute, but I just want to give you a little bit of a background of how this whole process works. Then the service provider sends the insurer a grossly inflated bill for services. It's not uncommon for a normal water mitigation bill to be, $1,000, $1,500, and once they have this assignment of benefits signed, those will go to $5,000, $6,000 easily, just because of the way that these people have been conditioned to handle these claims when an A.O.B has been signed by the insured. Then the insurer says, no, we're not going to pay that. It's too exorbitant. that's an inflated invoice, and at that point, the contractor or water mitigation company, whoever it is, they either get the law firm, or a lot of times the PAs are part of this as well. But the law firm will then go and start to litigate, because their attorney fees are guaranteed. If they get 1 penny more than what the initial estimate is, they will go and get reimbursed for their legal fees, and those are exorbitant by comparison. Then the insurer must either pay the service provider their demand plus the fees, or the law firm is going to go and sue them, and the litigation cost would exceed usually what the cost of paying that is. That's the problem that we have at this point. And then the service providers and the specialized law firms, they collect the inflated loss payments and the legal fees, which all just results in higher settlement costs, and that gets passed on in higher premiums to the homeowners. The A.O.B. lawsuits skyrocketed nearly 1,000% from 2005 to 2014. And this graphic here shows just how many lawsuits involving homeowner property claims. There was 70 in 2009 to 2014 last year. That's more than 2,700% in 5 years. And these are just lawsuits dealing with AOBs. This is what's driving the A.O.B. issue. We have, whether it's public adjusters, roofing contractors, they have attorneys that are going and encouraging, whether it's through door hangers or some other means of advertising, that the insureds go and get them to represent them in the slightest, any type of claim. And like it says here, any damage, your insurance covers all. They go and get these insureds to sign that assignment of benefits form, and then it starts going through that process. This is a website that I saw. Let me get to it here, where this insured, or this company goes, and this is on their website. They offer a VIP preferred customer list, and also right from their website, you can go and sign the assignment of benefits contract, so that they can go and do the emergency services, mold remediation, construction services. And I want to just make note of the way that this is all discussed and the way it's all laid out in their contract. And it says that they hereby assign any and all insurance rights, benefits, and proceeds under any applicable insurance policies to this Erickson's drying system. I also hereby authorize direct payment of any benefits or proceeds to Erickson's. I make this assignment and authorization in consideration of the agreement to perform services and supply materials and otherwise perform its obligations under this contract. And it goes on, and it basically, if you want to think about it in simpler terms, these assignment of benefits basically are power of attorneys that the insureds are signing and being pressured into signing, because they have damage, and they want to go and start getting work completed, and they know that they're under an obligation to mitigate their damage. So they sign this paper, and basically what they're doing is they are signing away any rights that they have to that insurance company and that claim itself, to these contractors or PAs or attorneys that are having them sign these forms. And when they do that, they don't even realize most of the time. I've had insureds that I've talked to who had no idea of the severity of what they signed, and that they basically signed away any control of that claim to that contractor when they signed this assignment of benefits. But it is a huge issue in the courts and other places right now where there is a lot of A.O.B litigation that is going on. This agreement is used by these contractors, and the thing that's so screwy about it is the A.O.B basically gives away the rights of the insured to the contractor, but it does not require that the contractor or the PA do any of the normal duties after a loss that an insured would have to do. They don't have to cooperate with our investigation. They don't have to provide us with any kind of statement. They don't have to give up for a EUO or anything else. So it's extremely uh, different when you're dealing with an A.O.B related claim, and that's why I wanted to share that information with you today, because when that does happen and they have a vendor or somebody else that is now supposed to be acting as the insured, it is extremely important that you understand that the laws and the rules are completely different if you're dealing with a contractor who has this A.O.B than it is when you deal with the contract or with the insured themselves. And one of the things that insurers are trying to do to guard against this fraud that's going on out there is to get the process changed right now. It's moving through the legislature in the state of Florida where they're trying to get a handle on it. I'm going to show you some of the reasons why it's so critical right now because of the increase in premiums that are having to take place because of all of this. But one of the things that they are trying to do is get um, invoking the appraisal process early on in the dispute so that they can go to binding appraisal and avoid the litigation. However, most contractors have tried to resist the participation of the appraisal process because they argue that they were only for emergency services and not for actually repairs of damaged property. The cost of those services would be not subject to the appraisal process and the appraisal provision of the policies. So other contractors argue that the appraisal process is a duty or an obligation of the insurance policy, and since that's not allowed under the laws as they are right now, they can't be compelled to perform any of those duties or the obligations that an insured would have to do if there was no contractor involved. Now, they want to litigate. I'll be honest with you. I've had PAs that have told me flat to my face that they didn't care what I put together as an estimate. They knew it was going to be fair. They knew that everything was going to be based on an agreed scope, but they want to go and take everything to litigation. Part of the reason for that is that some of the contractors prefer the litigation over appraisal because they have close relationships with attorneys. They have them with the rest of this circle of contractors, plumbers, remediation. They have a whole conglomerate that they deal with, and basically the Florida statute that deals with this, it's what's called attorney shifting, fee shifting, and that statute applies to any first-party insurance disputes, which says that if they are successful and they prevail in their suit, then all of their legal fees are going to be paid for by the insurer. In another dichotomy, the law does not go the other way, where if it goes to litigation and the insured loses, that they have to pay the carrier's insurance, or I should say attorney fees. That's one thing that I've always suggested that they should try to do is change that law, and I believe that's what they're going to try to do this year. But because of the attorney fee shifting statute, there's a lot of lawyers that are eager to represent assignees in this litigation because it's so lucrative for them, and It's coveted by the lawyers in the Florida. And in fact, one law firm in Orlando periodically hosts what it calls an insider secrets workshop for contractors. And in this workshop, they promise to show contractors the quote, the insider secrets of insurance companies that they don't want you to know. Now, in this workshop, they teach contractors how to use A.O.Bs, work authorizations, and demand letters in order to convey an image and to collect money from the insurance companies. Now, these contractors that attend the workshop are also given a flash drive with documents as well as a PowerPoint presentation that explains the A.O.B process from the perspective of the contractor and the law firm. That's where this material basically comes from. They give them form and basically boilerplate forms on a flash drive, and attorneys are getting these people as clients, and it's clogging up the courts. And it's a huge mess that there isn't really an answer to at this time because of all of the things that are going on with it. But one of the things that is extremely important when you're looking at these A.O.Bs and dealing with contractors in these type of claims is the amount of extra premium that it's costing. And this material I'm going to tell you now is just from an article yesterday in the Sun Sentinel in South Florida. There are rate increases anywhere from 10% to 20% that the state is right now looking at approving for the largest insurance companies in South Florida. They are looking for rate hikes, and one of them is People's Trust. They're based in Deerfield Beach, just north of Fort Lauderdale. They've got about 55,000 single-family homes just in the Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County, what they call the Tri-County region. And they're looking for a 14.5% rate increase just because of the A.O.B issue that's going on. People's Trust, their model is to discount the rates in exchange for customers agreeing to allow their company-affiliated rapid response teams to handle the repairs. Even doing that and operating under this so-called direct repair model, the company has experienced increased losses from these fraudulent water claims and litigation stemming from abuse of the assignment of benefits clause. The rate increases are going to be substantially higher in the Tri-County area because a lot of these are mostly prevalent in South Florida and Southeast Florida in particular. But the average hurricane coverage, non-hurricane coverage, I should say, in Hialeah in Dade County is going from $1,100 to $1,750 with this rate increase is approved. And it's a tremendous amount of money, extra money that's being generated, not just for the attorneys, but these insureds are having to cover that with increased premiums, and they are seeing so much A.O.B abuse and fraud that they have to go and change the laws, and hopefully they'll be able to do it this year. Over the last 4 years, they have not been able to agree on a bill to get things changed because of the attorney lobby that is in Florida that has lobbied these representatives and not gone and allowed them to change the law. Now, with as many ticked off insureds as there are, and knowing that there needs to be a change, I think it might actually happen this year, but it'll still take a year for these policies to get changed, and so it will be a while before there's any remedy for the situation itself. Now, these pending rate hikes are going to go and take effect this year as well, and one of the things that's a byproduct of that that I saw the other day, and we talked about it in our podcast, is the ratings company for insurance carriers is called Demotech. Demotech is kind of like Consumer Reports or Moody's that rates bonds and in the financial markets. Well, Demotech does that for insurance carriers, and they made a statement last week that there are between 10 and 15 Florida-based carriers that are going to have their ratings reduced within the coming weeks from A to B in their system. Now, the big problem with that is that when that happens, most mortgage companies, including Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, require that the insurers carry their homeowners insurance with a company that is A rated. Now, when these companies get downgraded to B rated, these insureds, these homeowners are going to have to go and find coverage elsewhere to go and meet the requirements of their mortgage, or they're going to end up losing their homes as a result of it. Most of those companies, or I should say most of those homeowners, are going to probably end up with Citizens again, which is supposed to be the insurance company of last resort. But the majority of these are in South Florida, where nobody wanted to write anyway, and a lot of these are takeout companies of Citizens policies that they're going to get them back again, and it's a result of these A.O.Bs and the water losses and the litigation that's resulting from them, and that is where the big issue is with those, and it's going to be a big problem for a long period of time, and we're going to stay on it and make sure that everybody has the information that they need to handle the claims when they see these A.O.Bs. This coming week, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. We also are going to be talking about CAT deployments that are happening. We're also going to be talking about third-party liability, inland marine claims. We're going to have a couple of days of inland marine claims leading up to our webinar next week, which is going to include a workshop on inland marine claims, and we're going to have a special guest for that, who's going to be Mr. P.J. Zadok from the Fine Arts Insurance Consultants. He's going to be joining us to share his 35 years of consulting for carriers dealing with inland marine policies, and he'll be sharing some materials with us in next week's webinar. We also have interviews planned with several guests this week, and we are also going to be helping Action Catastrophe Team get their message out. If you haven't gone to their website yet, go to www.actioncatastropheteam.com. And while you're there, go to their adjuster information sheet page and fill out, there's only a couple of blanks, fill out some information so they can get you set up in their system. And you know, we're all starting to get ready and eyeing hurricane season coming up. So you want to make sure that you do that. You get on their website, and we want to help them build their roster as well. Now it's time for question and answers. We did have a couple of questions that came in, but I did answer them as we were going along. But I'm going to unmute everybody at this point and see if there is any questions that you might have. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask it now. Okay. Looks like we did a good job. As I said, every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, we will be having a webinar discussing topics like today. And if you have any suggestions or anything that you would like to hear us discuss, feel free to send me an email to tom@adjusters247.com. You can also reach me through the cell phone, which is 754-208-7049. You can contact me through the website at any time, through any one of those contact opportunities that are there. I appreciate you joining us today and spending a little time with us. I know there's a lot better things you could be doing on a Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, but we are here every week, and I hope you join us again next week. There will be a copy of this available on the website later on today if you want to go back and get that, or any of our other webinars are available there as well on our media resources page. Again, I appreciate everybody being here. I hope you have a great weekend. and join us again. God bless and enjoy your time.